The company treated me like a worn-out rag, laying me off as soon as the project ended. My boss thought it'd be more cost-effective to hire a cheaper newcomer for maintenance, but he didn't realize that due to frequent requirement changes, the code was full of temporary fixes, creating a mountain of technical debt that isn't something just anyone can handle. Sure enough, as soon as I left, that shit mountain erupted. 1. I was completely taken aback when HR notified me about my termination. Just last week, the major project I oversaw had wrapped up successfully, with the product smoothly launching. The boss personally promised bonuses for every team member on the project, even patting my shoulder while praising me as the company's key player. Now mere days later, this key player is suddenly getting laid off? HR kept a straight face. The company will compensate according to the law, not a penny less. Let's get the resignation procedures done today. As if they were being generous. I had just spent exactly 1 year at Innovatech. The compensation would amount to at most 2 months' salary. But money was one thing, what I couldn't accept was how they burned every bridge. When they hired me, it was right at the start of the project. The market is booming with various artificial intelligence applications, and Innovatech wants to incorporate AI into its products to enhance competitiveness. As it happens, I have experience in developing and deploying AI models, so after joining the company, I immediately threw myself into the new project with several colleagues. In small companies, job responsibilities are often unclear, and one person ends up doing the work of 4 or 5. I never complained. The hardships of that year go without saying, but who could have imagined? I was the first to be laid off after the product launched. Ironically, just last night, I was working unpaid overtime, staying up past 2 a.m. to document the project's shortcomings for future optimization and improvements. Back at my workspace, my manager Steve Hoffman was talking to others. Seeing me, he casually said, "Jack, don't take it too hard. This is just standard company streamlining. You understand, right?" Understand my foot. The rest of the team seemed to already know about my layoff, their expressions tinged with awkwardness. I didn't miss the fleeting smugness in Steve's eyes. Damn it! This old fox had probably been waiting for this day all along. Although Steve was the technical department manager, he suffered from the same chronic ailment as many executives, knowing nothing about technology yet loving to give misguided orders. Innovatech's main business was digital dental services, and the system framework had been riddled with problems even before I joined. Due to frequent requirement changes, each project being rushed against tight deadlines, with neither development nor testing time being remotely sufficient, compounded by that troublemaker Steve issuing random commands, the architecture has grown increasingly complex and chaotic. Over time, various problems emerged: bloated components, repetitive code, entangled logic. And each new requirement change means piling more bugs atop existing ones, like telling one lie that necessitates a dozen more to cover it up. Calling this a shit mountain is no exaggeration at all. I dubbed this our company's heirloom shit mountain. Innovatech's entire operation is propped up atop this fecal peak. If we connect directly to AI, it's hard to imagine how difficult maintenance will be in the future. So before starting the new project, I repeatedly suggested refactoring the framework, but Steve disagreed. He believed it would significantly slow down the project's progress and was completely unnecessary. Aren't those AI models readily available nowadays? Can't we just use them as they are? Rewriting the framework? What a ridiculous idea. The company pays you such a high salary, not for you to come up with these terrible suggestions. I couldn't win the argument, so I had no choice but to brace myself and proceed. Sure enough, when the new project began, the old framework's design didn't meet the current requirements, and all sorts of anticipated and unanticipated issues came one after another. Out of a sense of responsibility for the project and the company, I frequently clashed with Steve, and several times our heated arguments erupted during meetings. In his rage, he once shouted, "Stop making so many excuses for me. Framework conflicts, incompatibility issues, when problems arise, you'd better do some serious self-reflection." Looking back now, he must have long been fed up with me, such a disobedient subordinate, over these past 6 months. Yet he still doesn't realize that despite the product being launched, there are far too many hidden risks. Only an unruly employee like me truly understands how many pitfalls exist in this new project, and only I know how to avoid stepping into these traps during subsequent operations. Steve instructed me, just organize whatever handover materials you need to prepare and submit them to me before leaving today. With that, he returned to his office. My work logs, development processes, and operation deployment documents were all submitted long ago. Since I haven't started any new tasks, there's really nothing special that needs organizing for handover. That's why the company dared to suddenly fire me. Several colleagues from the team sent me private Slack messages, all basically words of comfort. Chloe, who's in charge of testing, is from Gen Z. We've always gotten along the best among the team. She was furious. 2 days ago I saw that old bastard Steve whispering with HR, and I wondered what was going on. Turns out they were plotting against you. You're the one who contributed the most to the project. How could the company do this? Are they out of their minds? I replied, yeah, they're absolutely out of their minds. They just figured since the project was finished anyway, there was no point keeping me around. Worst case, they can always find someone cheaper to handle maintenance later. I sent a summary document to Steve. Manager Steve, would you kindly check if there are any issues? Steve replied instantly, fine, this will do. The old geezer didn't even bother to look. When I asked Steve to sign the documents, he kept saying how much he'd miss working alongside his comrades, yet that grin of his was practically bursting through. Listen, Jack, let me give you some parting advice. Don't act all high and mighty just because you think you're skilled. Companies aren't short of people who can get the job done. If you don't tone down that cocky attitude of yours, you won't last long anywhere. I retorted, you're absolutely right, I'm surely not the company's main artery, at most just a sphincter. Speaking of sphincters, I suggest you practice your Kegel exercises more often when you're free, otherwise you might leak someday. Steve thought I was upset and deliberately said such things to vent. He scoffed, putting on that nauseating expression of a great man doesn't remember a small man's faults. Without another word, I turned and left. For the next day, I was jolted awake by the alarm at 8:30. I lifted the blanket and suddenly realized I didn't have to go to work anymore. My phone alerted me to a new email. After opening it, all drowsiness instantly vanished. Hello Jack, I'm Leo Vance, CEO of Apex Neurotech. My team and I noticed on GitHub that you've been working on applying AI to Alzheimer's detection projects for the past few years, which aligns perfectly with what our team wants to accomplish. We sincerely invite you to join our team and look forward to your reply. Alzheimer's disease, it's actually what we commonly call senile dementia. I uploaded a few projects I wrote to GitHub out of personal interest. What's going on here? It's my first day unemployed, and I haven't even started sending out resumes yet. How did this job offer just fall from the sky? I opened a search engine to look up Apex Neurotech and its CEO. There wasn't much information about the company, but this CEO turned out to be quite the big shot. Leo Vance, a PhD graduate from Duke University, has been devoted to research in the field of computer vision. His personal homepage is filled with various open-source projects he independently developed during his academic years. From my professional and discerning perspective, he's undoubtedly a tech guru. I never imagined that such an accomplished expert would take notice of my project on GitHub, leaving me momentarily flattered and awestruck. But I'm not familiar with their company yet, so I definitely can't agree outright. In the email, I expressed my willingness to have an in-depth discussion and included my phone number. As soon as I sent the email, Chloe's text message arrived immediately. Jack, we've got a new guy in the team today. According to that old bastard Steve, they're gonna assign him to maintain our project from now on. Can you believe it? A fresh college graduate. Everyone knows fresh graduates come cheap. TSK, kick you out and replace you with someone cheaper. What a bunch of dumbass. I couldn't help but laugh. Steve must be out of his mind. After all, this is the company's core business. No matter what, you can't just hand it over to some greenhorn fresh out of college. Is he genuinely stupid, or does he have way too much faith in my code? Whatever, I don't give a damn anymore, because the CEO just called. 5. I was about to exchange pleasantries when he cut straight to the point. Are you in Austin too? Yes, I replied. Tomorrow's Saturday, want to grab lunch? You pick the spot. The call lasted less than a minute. Just like that, we arranged to meet tomorrow at a barbecue joint near my place. Not a single wasted word. Is this how the big shots operate? Chloe was still texting me live updates. The new guy's reading through the docs you left. Just looking at his face, I can tell he's struggling. The boss posted in the group chat that user engagement has skyrocketed since the AI detection feature went live, showering that old bastard Steve with praise. You should have seen him, his face crinkled up like a blooming chrysanthemum when he grinned. I pictured Steve's laughing face and had to admit Chloe's comparison was spot on. I spat out the water I just sipped. The next day, I ran into Leo Vance at the cafeteria. Perhaps it's some kind of programmer's telepathy, but we clicked immediately. Apex Neurotech is a company founded by Leo Vance just a year ago, dedicated to AI applications in the medical field, which has already secured 2 rounds of funding. By the time Alzheimer's can be diagnosed, too many brain neurons have already died, making it virtually impossible to reverse. But if the disease is detected early, it can be controlled and treated with medication. Early intervention can help patients improve cognitive function and delay clinical progression by 10 to 15 years. So, what we're trying to do now is help people detect it as early as possible. The AI boom across industries is obvious, and what Leo Vance wants to do isn't particularly unique after all. I'm personally researching this stuff out of interest too. But what fascinated me most was the light sparkling in his eyes as he spoke these words. The restaurant buzzed with chatter about salaries, mortgages, marriage, and having children. This man passionately advocating groundbreaking changes for human healthcare seemed utterly out of place. Yet I felt an undeniable resonance with him. As we neared the end, I reminded him, Mr. Vance, you haven't asked me a single technical question this whole time. Leo Vance smiled and said, those projects of yours on GitHub speak for themselves with 50k stars. And I've seen your code. Our team desperately needs outstanding talent like you. TSK, just listen to him, the CEO is indeed different. you flatter me too much. Just one last small question, do you scout all your hires online yourself? Leo Vance burst into laughter. Of course not, but fate brought us together, sharing a meal today is serendipity. And if we can work together in the future, that would be perfection. TSK, listen to this, just listen. Steve would only think it's our privilege that the company spends money to hire us, that providing employees with job opportunities is a blessing bestowed by the company, and that we must be endlessly grateful to the corporation. The gap between people is greater than that between humans and dogs. On my first day at Apex, the team of less than 10 people threw me a small welcome party. While exchanging Slack contacts with new colleagues, a stranger suddenly sent me a friend request, which I absent-mindedly accepted. Manager Steve asked me to check why the image library version suddenly became incompatible. I immediately realized this was that rookie Steve had recruited. Not only was he rude, but his questions were abrupt and incoherent. Besides, Innovatech isn't paying me anymore, why should I care about version compatibility? It's not like I'm obligated to provide after-sales service after getting laid off, right? Without a second thought, I deleted him. Not 2 minutes later, Steve called. After a moment's hesitation, I answered. Jack, what's your problem? You just left the company and you're already drawing lines? Was it necessary to act like this over a simple question? Let me tell you, burning bridges won't do you any favors. That reprimanding tone still treats me like one of his subordinates. Manager Steve, I'm powerless to help here. You know how complex the code is. When problems arise, they need to be checked one by one. I can't just diagnose them remotely. 7. My tone was polite, but my refusal was unequivocal. Steve was left speechless by my response. To be honest, I could probably guess the reason. The Innovatech system framework is outdated, and many of the latest algorithm libraries can't be updated. It will thorough debugging is a must before any upgrades. If you rush into upgrades without knowing the project inside out, you're guaranteed to step into pitfalls. But hey, my mouth is my own. If I say I don't know, then I don't know. What's he gonna do? Mind read me like some psychic? Whatever nonsense he was about to spout next, I couldn't be bothered to listen. Manager Steve, I'm still swamped over here, so I'll have to cut this short. Goodbye. After joining Apex, I genuinely experienced what it's like to collaborate with a team of brilliant minds. It's absolutely exhilarating. Thanks to his exceptional technical background, Leo Vance demonstrates outstanding oversight and guidance in project management, particularly in setting technical direction, selecting appropriate technologies, and resolving technical issues, far surpassing anything Steve could hope to achieve. As for the other colleagues, they're all remarkably sharp and highly cooperative teammates. I absolutely love my new work environment, and I'm thoroughly enjoying the new project I've taken on. After wrapping up my first day of work, while heading home, I came across a LinkedIn post from Steve. Ran into an issue with the project, teammates and I scrambled to troubleshoot, skipping both lunch and dinner. Hard work paid off, and we nailed it in the end. Hats off to us. At Innovatech, today's problems don't spill into tomorrow, that's our speed. That's the never give up spirit of innovators. Cringe. Just a minor bug, anyone would think he cracked some monumental problem. Chloe texted me saying that after troubleshooting the bug, Steve made sarcastic remarks in the department group chat. Things like people should stay grounded, or the world keeps spinning no matter who leaves. Things like narrow-minded people will never amount to anything in life. I'm dying of laughter. Steve actually has the nerve to call me petty. He'd better stay this confident forever. On the 8th day, Leo Vance suddenly asked me if I had a passport. I do. What's he asking this for? Can you communicate in English? I get by. At least I can speak it. Leo Vance smiled. Go apply for a business visa. Next month you're coming abroad with me to the Cleveland Clinic. Oh, the Cleveland Clinic. I know it, one of the most renowned neurology hospitals in the world. I've heard this hospital stores a vast archive of brain imaging data from Alzheimer's patients. Even more impressive, they've collected early-stage imaging for a significant portion of these patients. One major challenge in implementing AI in healthcare lies in data. Variations across hospitals, imaging equipment, and scanning parameters create substantial differences in medical imaging data, significantly increasing the difficulty of model training. The projects I worked on at GitHub all used free open-source data. Not only are they outdated, but also few in number. But if Apex could obtain historically valuable imagery like what's available in Cleveland, it would be absolutely decisive for AI model training. Getting excited, I immediately nodded. Alright, I'll get right on it. The longer I stayed at Apex, the more I felt that the better part of a year spent at Innovatech was completely wasted. Leaving Innovatech was cutting my losses in time. While waiting for my visa to come through, Chloe shared another joke with me. Incredible, absolutely incredible, utterly mind-blowing. No idea how old Steve managed to hire this walking disaster. The new guy deleted a few lines from the logs, and suddenly the whole program crashed. Everyone was baffled, thinking we'd hit some kind of glitch in the matrix. Guess how it ended? Turns out the genius was actually using stuff from the logs as input. I can't even. Old Steve kept praising that new guy in front of the boss to prove firing you and hiring a cheaper replacement was the right move. Today's massive screw-up left him with a dark face all day, priceless. I'm baffled too. Logs are typically only for monitoring program status and debugging issues. Using them for input? Unheard of. What a fucking genius design. 9. Getting publicly humiliated by his beloved protege must be truly embarrassing. But even more humiliating incidents were still waiting for Steve down the road. The day Leo Vance and I set off, I received another call from Steve at the airport. He sounded rather anxious. Jack, I'm reaching out this time hoping you can set aside personal grudges and emotions so we can communicate properly. Manager Steve, though I'm not sure what you want to discuss, if my emotions bother you, we can simply skip the conversation. He's Warren Buffett, it's not like I'd have nothing better to do than care whether we talk or not. There was a brief silence on the other end of the line. Steve seemed to be suppressing his anger. We're currently deploying the system for the client, following every step in the deployment document. Why on earth won't it work? I don't know. Is it a network environment issue or a configuration file problem? I'm not on site. How would I know? Steve suddenly became agitated. How could you possibly not know? Didn't you write the deployment document yourself? I did write it, but there's nothing wrong with what I wrote. When old Mike and the team went to deploy it for the client before, everything worked just fine. Don't even think about dumping this on me. Every time we add new features, there's a high chance they'll cause other unexpected problems. Who knows how many more turds they've piled onto this shit mountain after I left. My uncooperative attitude completely infuriated Steve. He yelled at me over the phone, Jack Miller, what kind of attitude is this? The company may have let you go, but they didn't owe you anything. Your salary, compensation, didn't they give you everything you were owed? Now we're just contacting you about some leftover issues, and you're shirking responsibility left and right. Is this how you repay the company for nurturing you? Innovatech nurtured me? What a load of crap. Were they even qualified? You're treating me like some greenhorn fresh out of school who knows nothing. Manager Steve, say whatever you want, but I'm about to board my flight. Gotta go. Wait a minute. Steve hurriedly spoke faster, afraid I'd hang up. Jack, you've certainly got nerves of steel, still finding time for vacations. Haven't landed a job these past few days, have you? Nowadays companies always conduct background checks for experienced hires. Surely you wouldn't want your potential new employer to hear unfavorable comments when they call our company for reference? 10. Ha, threatening me. I deliberately softened my tone, Manager Steve, there's really no need for this. When I was at Innovatech, I always gave my best. Hearing this, Steve thought I was genuinely afraid he'd mess with me behind my back, and instantly got cocky again. Just cooperate nicely and get this issue resolved, and you've got nothing to worry about. Now I really have to board my flight. Whatever it is, let's talk after I land. Hey, I hung up. Steve tried calling me back, but I turned off my phone directly. Leo Vance was engrossed in reviewing documents on the plane. I put away my phone, not intending to tell him about these matters, at least not now. This time, the two of us would represent Apex to discuss project collaboration with the Cleveland Medical Center. They provide the data, we provide the technology. Of course, not everyone qualifies for this opportunity. Apex got its chance solely because Cleveland's imaging director happened to be Leon Vance's graduate school classmate. The moment he powered on his phone after landing, it buzzed violently as texts flooded in one after another. All messages were from Chloe. The client was furious today and complained straight to the boss. The boss went ballistic and publicly tore old Steve a new one in front of the whole company. As soon as the boss left, old Steve started yelling at all of us, calling everyone useless. If you ask me, he's the real idiot here. What a fucking moron. Quick, look at the post he made. It's completely smearing your reputation. Thankfully you've already found a new job, so there's no need to fear him. I clicked open the screenshot Chloe sent. Steve posted on social media. A certain former employee repeatedly refused to follow task assignments and constantly nitpicked during their employment. Holding a grudge upon resignation, this person deliberately altered relevant documents by exploiting their position, ultimately causing this deployment failure. He strongly condemned such unprofessional behavior and stated Innovatech reserves the right to pursue legal action. A certain former employee, that's obviously me, 11, first slander, then shift blame. And Steve blocked me, so I can't even see this post myself. What an absolute jerk. I replied to Chloe, so what's the situation now? Steve showed up on site too. The client is already very unhappy, saying even deployment is this difficult, and questioning whether our product is reliable. The company was planning to participate in that AI Expo at the end of the month, and the boss wanted to add more features to the product. But now this whole mess has delayed progress. In the main group chat, the boss tore Steve to pieces. In my opinion, Steve and the company brought this on themselves. If you were still here, this problem definitely wouldn't have happened. Speaking of which, after all the slander he threw at you, can you really swallow that anger? Of course I couldn't let him off so easily. I sent Steve a text. I think I might know why the deployment failed. He replied instantly, what is it? I was going to tell you, but then I saw a post and got suddenly upset. Forgot all about it. Steve fell silent. The words "Steve is typing" kept hovering above the text message. About 10 minutes later, Steve finally replied, "Jack, I was wrong. I was angry at the time and couldn't reach you no matter what, so I said some things without thinking. Please don't take it to heart. I've already deleted that post. And about that legal action thing, don't worry, absolutely nothing like that will happen." I can really set my mind at ease now that you say this. Now can you tell me what exactly went wrong? I suppressed a laugh and typed quickly, "Manager Steve, check if the network connection is bad." "So that's the reason you came up with?" "Yeah, like I said, it's just a possible reason. Network instability could definitely cause deployment failures." Steve was furious. "Jack Miller, you're screwing with me." "Yeah, I'm just messing with you, so deal with it." 12 Heard Steve eventually fired that fresh grad and hired someone experienced to fix the situation. Though it didn't cause major damage, losing credibility with clients definitely earned him a black mark from the boss. Steve's disgusting antics didn't affect me one bit. After resting overnight with Leo Vance at the hotel, we set off to Cleveland Clinic in high spirits. Leo Vance had me present the technical details of our project. I didn't hesitate or shy away. With confidence, I explained the entire process, from framework construction to data cleaning and model training, to a room full of experts in my less than perfect foreign language. All questions and challenges were handled smoothly. By the end of the meeting, the Cleveland representative shook hands with Leo Vance, saying it was a pleasure to work together. Leo Vance pointed at me and said, "Rest assured, our team is exceptional and will not disappoint you. Through our joint efforts, we hope to make groundbreaking contributions to the cause of human health." Leo Vance nodded at me as if to say, "Thanks to you." For a moment, I was genuinely moved. Spotlighting me like this would have been absolutely unthinkable at Innovatech. Steve was the type who only cared about results, completely indifferent to the process. Whenever I encountered problems in the project and went to him for guidance, he'd always look impatient and fail to provide any constructive suggestions or substantial help. When the team needed resource support, his standard response was, "No need to bother the boss with such trivial matters." But the moment there's even the slightest progress, he immediately reports to the boss to claim credit. Once the project is successfully set up, he takes most of the credit for himself. If things go well, it's because of his excellent leadership. If problems arise, it's due to the incompetence of subordinates. So when this guy's career goes up in flames, I feel absolutely no pity for him. 13 After signing the cooperation agreement with Cleveland, Leo Vance and I stayed for another week, meticulously reviewing all their historical data. Thousands of imaging records documented patients' clinical symptoms, treatment methods, lifestyle habits, family medical histories, and most valuably, included follow-up scans from several years ago for many patients. For comparison with healthy subjects, Cleveland also promised to provide us with a substantial number of brain scans from healthy individuals. Leo Vance and I looked like prospectors who'd struck gold. We couldn't stop grinning from ear to ear. The difference is, gold miners had to physically carry their haul back, while we just had to return and wait for Cleveland to open the data access port. I arrived home in the middle of the night, slept for a few hours, and then went to work full of energy. Leo Vance was already at the office. He looked at me with a flicker of surprise in his eyes. "Jack, didn't I give you a day off to adjust to the time difference?" As I turned on the computer, I said, "We can download the Cleveland data today. Just thinking about it kept me awake last night." "Boss, same for you, right?" Leo Vance gave a knowing smile. "If all goes well, we can complete the demo this month, just in time to exhibit alongside other products at the AI Expo." The AI Expo. Why does that sound so familiar? Wait, isn't Innovatech participating too? We stopped talking and buried ourselves in work. When I was at Innovatech, it was busy too, but back then it felt like drudgery, completely driven by a sense of duty. At Apex, I could clearly feel my passion for this job, pouring 100% of my enthusiasm into it every day. The busy days flew by quickly, and soon it was the end of the month. Chloe seemed equally preoccupied. We hadn't messaged each other in over half a month. I saw her again at the AI Expo. Steve was there too. 14 Steve also spotted me, clearly still holding a grudge from the last time I outsmarted him. His tone was dripping with sarcasm from the very first sentence. "This is an exhibition, not a job fair. Seems someone might be in the wrong place." All participating corporate employees wear their company badges, and since I hadn't yet taken mine out from my bag, Steve assumed I was just a visitor. Chloe gave him a discreet eye roll before greeting me warmly. We walked to a less crowded spot to talk. Old Steve's become a powder keg ready to explode at any moment now. Turns out since that last incident, the boss has been extremely dissatisfied with Steve. When the boss vents at Steve, Steve takes it out on his subordinates. The new hires can't handle the pressure and keep making mistakes, dragging the project timeline endlessly. The boss even publicly questioned Steve on why the tech department had become such a mess after just one layoff, asking if he was truly capable of leading the team. This struck right at Steven's Achilles heel. What he least wanted to admit was that the department seemingly couldn't function without me. To save face and prove himself right in front of the boss, Steven proposed adding an advanced feature to the product: AI-assisted diagnostics. He even guaranteed the boss it would successfully launch by the end of the month. I frowned when I heard that, developing AI-assisted diagnostics in just half a month? What was Steve thinking? This was a feature I had half completed and shelved during my time at Innovatech. Given the conditions at the time, there was genuinely no way to proceed with it. Forcing it into production would only disrupt other core operations. Not to mention, the diagnostic accuracy was appallingly low, utterly unmarketable. Steve flew into a rage over it, accusing me of just making excuses to avoid the work. I asked Chloe, did they actually make it work? She pursed her lips. They pushed it out in an emergency last night, but only did modular testing. Personally, I think it's shaky, but the boss was thrilled. Launching without comprehensive testing, I almost have to admire Steve's fearless ignorance. I seriously suspect he just took the half-finished version I'd worked on and used it as is. That's a ticking time bomb. Booth number 15, Apex's exhibition stand, happens to be not far from Innovatech. Steve was busy introducing the product to others, completely unaware that I had walked past him from behind. He proudly declared, "Other competitors have only achieved AI detection at this stage, but we were the first to make attempts and breakthroughs. I dare say, currently only Innovatech's product has this auxiliary diagnosis feature. It can absolutely significantly improve dental professionals' diagnostic efficiency." This exhibition was large-scale, with attendees including industry peers, procurement specialists, and even some government officials, making it an excellent promotional opportunity. With so few staff in the company, everyone came to help with the on-site setup. Apex is quite different from other software service providers on the market, focusing solely on brain disorders. This novelty quickly drew a crowd to our booth. After speaking intermittently for 2 hours, nearing noon when the venue began to quiet down, I finally had a chance to rest and grab a drink of water. Looking up, I spotted several men in sharp suits heading toward the Innovatech booth, and standing beside them, bowing and scraping with an obsequious smile, was none other than my former boss, Mr. Davis. "Director Roberts, it's truly an honor to have you visit our booth." The middle-aged man standing in the center smiled faintly. Mr. Davis gave Steve a glance. Steve understood the cue and promptly smiled, saying, "Director Roberts, let me introduce you to our product." Director Roberts raised his hand to signal it wasn't necessary, then pointed at the words auxiliary diagnosis on the poster. "Why don't you just give us a live demonstration? That would be much more intuitive." Steve hesitated upon hearing this, his expression suddenly turning somewhat unnatural. He forced a smile. "Perhaps I should just give an oral presentation to the leadership. The venue is crowded today, and the network might be unstable. It wouldn't be good to keep everyone waiting." Director Roberts glanced at Mr. Davis. Mr. Davis wore a smile on his face, but there was a hint of displeasure in his tone. "Old sure. What are we waiting for? Hurry up. It's not like we don't have it." "Oh, okay, 16. I was simply too curious. I also wanted to see what exactly the product Steve had developed in just half a month looked like." Fortunately, the attention of the Innovatech personnel was all on the computer in front of Steve and the large screen behind him, so no one noticed me blending into the crowd. Steve explained as he operated. "After logging into the system with a doctor's account, you can find patient data records here. Then right-click to bring up the menu, which offers various AI services. We have corresponding intelligence services for periodontal disease, endodontic disease, and orthodontics, such as measurement and automatic identification." Director Roberts interrupted him. "No need to explain those. Every clinic has those services. Just demonstrate your new feature." Steve could stall no longer. He selected a case file and clicked the diagnosis button in the menu. Everyone stared at the screen waiting. The progress bar moved from 0% to 10%, 20%, 30%. It has to be said that the speed was painfully slow. After reaching 40%, the progress bar froze. Steve remained silent, beads of sweat forming on his forehead. Mr. Davis quickly explained, "It must be a network issue. Under normal circumstances, our product operates at millisecond-level processing speeds." No sooner had he finished speaking than a dialog box popped up on the interface, "Unknown error." Everyone who had been eagerly awaiting the outcome immediately let out a disappointed sigh, their frustration clearly written on their faces. Steve was visibly flustered. He closed the dialog box and clicked Diagnose again. This time, the process didn't even reach 40% progress before an error message abruptly appeared. Director Roberts cleared his throat and said to Mr. Davis, "It seems you still have some work to do. We'll go check on others first." Mr. Davis was mortified. Occasionally, there were industry peers among the exhibition crowd, and someone whispered, "Showcasing unfinished products as a gimmick, isn't this false advertising?" Old Steve's face turned so red it seemed about to bleed. The crowd dispersed. Mr. Davis's expression shifted repeatedly, but in the end, he said nothing. Swallowing his anger, he turned and walked away. I had already circled around to the back of the display panel when I heard Chloe's panicked voice. "Manager Steve, something's wrong. The marketing team just messaged that many clients' back-end systems crashed after this morning's update." Steve was already in a bad mood, and this news made him even more irritable. "What's the issue? Let operations handle it if there's a problem." Some clients reported images failing to display, others couldn't upload data, and some even lost operation permissions. Basically, the operations team said the issues are too complex to resolve, demanding urgent developer support, and customer complaint calls keep pouring in nonstop. Steve staggered slightly, nearly falling over. The day had finally come. In the end, Innovatech's code monstrosity couldn't withstand Steve's relentless deathwish operations. If the previous incidents were just slight leaks, today's episode could truly be called a full-blown shitstorm. I'm really worried about Steve. Sure enough, during lunch with my colleagues, Steve called me again. This time I didn't answer, but Steve wasn't about to give up. He started bombarding me with messages like a madman. "Jack, pick up the phone. I've got something to tell you. The company has reconsidered and decided to have you come back, with the same salary package as before. How does that sound? Finding a job isn't easy these days, especially during the year-end layoff season. Landing a position with the same salary as before is doubly difficult. I really admire him. Even drowning in a sea of shit, he still puts on airs with me." I still ignored him, unable to get a response from me. Steve finally lost his patience. "Jack, could you pick up the phone? I have something urgent to talk to you about. It's truly a matter of extreme urgency. I'm begging you, alright?" 18. "Sorry, begging me won't help. I'm busy right now." After wolfing down a few bites of lunch, my colleagues and I hurried off to the conference venue. As I approached the Apex booth, I nearly collided head-on with Steve, who was rushing out in a hurry. His eyes lit up when he saw me, and he quickly grabbed hold of me. "Jack, you're here for me, aren't you? Perfect. Come with me. Let me tell you." I broke free from his grasp. "Manager Steve, what are you talking about? I came here to work. It has nothing to do with you." Steve didn't believe it. He thought I was playing hard to get, grinding his teeth before compromising by whispering in my ear, "Fine, I promise if you come back, I'll raise your annual salary by 10,000, how's that? And I'll promote you to team leader." I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. As if anyone cares about your measly little trifles. Just then, Leo Vance called me from the exhibition booth. "Jack, you're back just in time. Give Director Roberts and the team an update on the new project you're overseeing." The executives who appeared at the Innovatech booth this morning are now standing in front of the Apex booth, looking at me with hopeful expressions. "Got it." I sidestepped the dumbstruck Steve. Leo Vance boomed with a resonant voice. "This is Jack Miller, our Apex technical director. He's currently leading the Alzheimer's disease research project." I greeted the leaders and confidently began my introduction. "We have employed cutting-edge image processing technology and artificial intelligence algorithms, combined with standard clinical cranial MRI and cognitive assessments from top-tier medical teams, to currently establish a predictive model for the likelihood of progression from amnestic mild cognitive impairment to Alzheimer's disease dementia." Meanwhile, Steve on the other side had already turned to complete stone. Finally, after watching our demo presentation, Director Roberts gave us high praise. He patted me on the shoulder. "Good job, keep it up. Given time, I believe Apex will undoubtedly be the brightest new star on the unicorn list." Steve didn't say when he left. By the time I finished my work, he was already gone. The first thing they did after launching the product was to lay me off. Mr. Davis personally called to plead with me to come back and put out the fires, but I still refused. 19. Not that I hold grudges. Firstly, there's now some level of competition between our companies, which makes things inherently awkward. Second, who knows what other nonsense Steve has pulled off since then. I can't guarantee that my going there will solve anything. It might even backfire and make them think I'm not putting in enough effort on purpose. 3. Anyway, I was the one they laid off. Whatever happens to Innovatech afterward has nothing to do with me. I don't care if the heavens fall. Innovatech had to poach 2 tech gurus at exorbitant prices. Their annual salaries are more than triple what I used to make at Innovatech. After the system was repaired, not only did they suffer a massive loss of customers, but Innovatech also faced substantial compensation claims, worsening the already strained financial situation of the company. The employees feared the company might go under any day, leading to a wave of resignations. Chloe also changed jobs, and she told me about Steve's later situation. After repairing the system, Innovatech's first move was to lay him off. Saying he was let go isn't quite accurate. It was more like being persuaded to leave. After all, he caused such significant losses for the company, he really should have resigned to take responsibility anyway. If they'd outright fired him, labor laws would have required compensation, and there's no way Mr. Davis would have been happy about that. Chloe sighed. All of this can be traced back to when Steve fired you. Cutting off the lifeblood of talent, they were practically digging their own grave. I laughed and said, no, I wouldn't dare call myself the aorta. Cut the aorta, and you'll die. But lose your sphincter, now that's a fate worse than death. The end.